Hello, Christian.
Hello, Mendez. Good night.
How often do you cook?
I regularly cook.
How often do you sweep your house?
Mood every day.
How often do you study English?
I study English twice a week.
How often do you go to the cinema?
Usually when action movies in come out.
How often do you meet your friends?
I hardly had sugar with my friends.
How often do you tell lies?
I never tell lies.
How often do you visit your relative?
Visit my relatives every day.
How often do you go to the church?
Don't usually do you chore.
How often do you do exercise?
I do exercise every day.
How often do you wake up late?
I never work late.
How often do you do your homework?
I my do homework every day.
How often do you have family meetings?
I usually have my meeting.
How often do you smoke?
I do not smoke.
How often do you go to the doctor?
I go to the doctor once a month.
How often do you play board games?
I don't play board games.
How often do you buy new clothes?
I occasionally buy new clothes.
How often do you hug your mom?
I don't play. I often hug my mom.
How often do you eat encebollado?
I eat twice a month.
How often do you play football?
I rarely play soccer.
How often do you play an instrument?
I play the piano once a week.
How often do you surf the net?
Always above the net.
How often do you call your best friends?
I usually call them my best friends.
How often do you wash your clothes?
I wash my clothes twice a week. Hello, Mendez. How often how often do you cook?
I something cook.
How often do you sweep your house?
I often sweep my house.
How often do you study English?
I study English twice a week.
How often do you go to the cinema?
I rarely go to the cinema.
How often do you meet your friends?
I meet my friends every week.
How often do you tell lies?
I never tell lies.
How often do you visit relatives?
I visit my relative every week.
How often do you go to the church?
I go to the church once a week.
How often do you exercise?
I do exercise 3 times a week.
How often do you wake up late?
I never wake up late.
How often do you homework?
I do my homework every day.
How often do you have family meetings?
I often have family meetings.
How often do you smoke?
I rarely smoke.
How often do you go to the doctor?
I go to the doctor once a month.
How often do you play board games?
I seldom play board games.
How often do you buy neck clothes?
I occasionally buy new clothes.
How often do you hug your mom?
I often hug my mom.
How often do you eat encebollado?
I eat encebollado once a week.
How often do you play football?
I play football once a week.
How often do you play an instrument?
I never play an instrument.
How often do you surf the net?
I always surf the net.
How often do you call your best friend?
I often call my best friends.
How often do you wash your clothes?
I wash my clothes once a week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mendez.